Amen. I'm glad you're here tonight. Amen. Man, praise the Lord. I know God's glad you're here tonight also. And you are a good-looking crowd on a Wednesday night. Kate's just wasn't saying that. This is bigger numbers than we've had on a Wednesday night and a few Wednesday nights anyway. So we certainly are appreciative and thank God for you. Amen. Kate has already gave a great introduction to the sermon, so we're just going to get on with it. And you've heard this before. You've heard this saying before. A person once said, "I wish I could buy you for what you're worth and sell you for what you think you're worth." And now, when you hear that, your perspective on that statement makes a world of difference. You can get really offended by that, or you can call that person a liar and say, "I'm worth a lot more than you're willing to pay." But one of my favorite excerpts from a movie is it's a Rocky movie, and it's called Balboa. And he's talking to his son, and he tells his son, "Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits." And not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or because of her or anybody else. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. All about perspective. What you're thinking, what you feel. You know, when I hear that, it's very motivating, very emotional. It's very encouraging that if you think you're worth it, well, then go out and get it, but be able to pay that price. Be ready to take those hits, be able to take those knocks, be able to realize that nothing worth having in this walks of life is necessarily going to come very easy, and be motivated to go out there and do that. And don't be a coward. Don't be a coward. And I had thought about this so much because during a pandemic, and maybe some feel like we're definitely still maybe there. It may not be, numbers may not be as bad presently as they were just a few weeks ago or a few months ago. But as we know, and as we've been living with this for quite some time, it's quite a roller coaster. We get ups and downs in this situation. But beyond that, there's this great epidemic that's going on during the pandemic of defeatism. Of people walking around in a defeated state. Even so much, there's so many people I see from church, Christians, that they look no different than non-Christians because they're walking around defeated. They're walking around gloom, doom, the world's going to... And listen, I know that it's not the best. And yeah, I mean, we should be concerned about a lot of things in life. But there's a lot of goodness and there's a lot of grace. And if you study history, God's always had this stuff going on. Jesus has always dealt this. And Christians have always endured things like this. We're not in a time, if you study history, that's that much different than it has been in the past. Now, there's a lot of... there's a lot of things that are different about what we go through now than what we have went through in history, but there's a lot of similarities. And there's things that we might even say... are even more horrific than what we're going through presently. But this defeatism made me think of this, that if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. And be willing to take the hit. Now, there's a couple things that we struggle with. Taking the hit. We want it easy, right? We want to go out and just have things handed to us. Matter of fact, we've got a generation that I have just presently begun to see that's coming from a pandemic that likes handouts very well. And that doesn't know what real life is all about, and reality is hitting them very hard that life is not a stimulus package, that life is not a free grade, that you just can't go to the house and if you don't want to do any more work, you still get whatever your old grade was, an A, B, or C, or whatever. But things really don't work that way, and it's being a very big challenge. And in retrospect, we've got people walking around, head hanging low, defeated. And I really don't expect much different from the world But I really do expect a lot different from Christians, and me included. I fight it just like you fight it. And it's a daily fight, and we got to be willing to take the hit, not to be walking defeated and down and out. Now you say, well, Rocky's just a movie, and I really didn't want to spend much time talking about that slogan. But it really did inspire me to go this direction. Because how do we not walk defeated? How do we not live our life, our Christian life, in this gloom and doom state that we can see on every corner? There is multiple things that I've encountered today that seem to have the ability to drag me down. To drag me down. If I let it, it'll drag me down. I've had multiple opportunities, just like you have, to just say, I might as well just be depressed. This is garbage. I might as well be looking for an escape. I might as well, things ain't never going to get better. Things haven't been getting better. And I've had multiple things, just like you have, that are discouraging. And then I realize there's multiple things every day that are sitting there waiting on me from the enemy to discourage, to defeat, to bring me down. Because if the world can get Christians to walk in defeatism, like the King of Kings is not the King of Kings, and the Lord of Lords is not the Lord of Lords, and that Jesus really didn't die for your sins, or He's not sitting on the right hand of Father, because that's what happens when we walk defeated. We walk defeated, then we're basically proclaiming to the world, Jesus really didn't make a difference, because I'm just like you. I'm just like you. I've got the same problems you got, and I don't have anything else to help me through the problems that you've got, because Jesus is just not making a difference. So again, I'm not about the analyzing, oh, this is the way we are. I want to know, how do we fix it? How do we get better at it? Well, as Kate's already planted a seed about your mind, Ephesians 3:12 says, in Him and through faith in Him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. Did you catch the important word there? In Him and through faith. Faith is nothing more than a belief and changing your perspective. Faith, when you look through a lens of faith, it changes the way you deal with any situation you encounter. Anything you see, if you can do it in faith, it changes the way you deal with it, how you respond to it, how you act, the way you live, whether you're defeated or whether you're victorious. He said, in Him. The important word is there, in Him through faith. Through faith. It's through our faith that we can experience the fullness of freedom and confidence. Now, I don't know about you, and you know, some of you know me, and you know me real well, but confidence is always an issue with no matter how much you think a person has confidence. No matter how we've painted a picture or how confident you think somebody is, confidence still is an issue for rather everybody. Even if the perception is, or the picture is painted like they're the most confident person in the world. But through faith, we can have the freedom. We can approach God with freedom and confidence. Not being a better person. He said we can't have this freedom, we can't have this confidence just by being a better person, just by doing better things, or just by doing good works, or just by trying harder, but by believing. Because see, I think that's how a lot of us as Christians, because we've been there, we've done that, we've lived in church all our life, we kind of connect everything to living right. If we live right and we do right, we're blessed. But we forget that we're supposed to have faith. We're supposed to believe. We're supposed to believe maybe even the unbelievable, right? Not to believe just the things that we can see, but the things that we can't see. And live by faith. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about most of you. Oh, you've been around a while. It's not like I'm preaching anything new. It's not like you haven't been trying to live right and talk right, but yet you're still struggling. You're still fighting. You're still getting defeated. You're still getting darts through at you, and the enemy seems like they're winning from time to time again. So what's the problem? Well, we've got to have faith. almost a blinded faith. A faith that says, I'm victorious when I really don't feel victorious. I have talked myself into things over and over, even though everything around me says no, because I just believed. There's things that I have did physically that I thought there was no way this body could do it, but you know what? I talked myself into it and believed like it could do it. Now, it don't always work, right? Sometimes I fake myself out and I really get a good real dose that wasn't of God. But it's through faith that we can experience the fullness and the freedom and the confidence. By believing. Our faith's key. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 3 through 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, 3 through 5 says, I came to you in weakness, with great fear and trembling. My message, Paul said, and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest in what? In human wisdom, but on God's power. How incredible that text is. Paul shows us human frailty. He shows us that there's weakness, there's great fear, and there's trembling. But he also reassures us that that's not all we got to rely on. The fear, the trembling, and the humanity and the human wisdom is not what we're... See, if we rely on that, we're of all men most miserable. If Christ didn't rise again, we're of all men most miserable. Our hope is not true. Our hope is not real. There's more than we have than everybody else that walks around in the world that's doing day-to-day activities that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. He reassures us that we have more to rely on. Our human wisdom, our limited perspective, what is it? It's finite. It's too finite. It's way too finite. We don't have faith in ourselves a lot of times. We don't have faith in other people a lot of times. And there's not anywhere a lot of times that we have a hope that rests. And he says it should be in a greater, big, powerful God. Our confidence comes from our faith on God's limitless, almighty power that's always working. Here's the thing, God's always working. You know, that's something that we have to remember. Whenever things are not going good, God's working. God's working. There's a lot, I try not to all we talk about is what we live. And if I'm talking to Brad, and me and Brad's having a conversation, it doesn't surprise me that he talks about the pharmacy. Or he talks about something that goes on with the pharmacy because he lives a lot of his life in his business, in his pharmacy. Well, the same way with me, I try to get away from some things that I normally talk about, especially when I preach and minister, but it's hard to because that's the life I live. That's what I do. There's things that I put myself through, that you put yourself through, that is very painful. It is hard to understand, and there's no rest in it. But know that God's working. God's working on the outside. There's sometimes that I'm training, and I'm like, why in the world? This can't be profitable. It's so painful. But then a few days down the road, oh my, what results I get from the pain. And I realize, some things are right. No pain, no gain. That things that you are worth fighting, things that are worth having are worth fighting for. They're worth going through a certain amount of measure of pain. God's always working, even though things are not going well. I thought about that today. That's why that got in that sermon, was there were some things today at work that weren't going so well. And I'd like just to go down. I felt like, you know what? I wish I'd just go do something else. I'm so sick of this. I'm so tired of this. I just need to go. And I thought, but God's got something going on that I'm not seeing. And I mean, you talk about, and now let's just be honest with you. I knew what was fixing to happen tonight. I knew that there was an appointment to come preach. And you know who else knew that there was an appointment to come preach? The enemy did too. You talk about taking a hit last night. Today was a cupcake compared to what I did last night and what I went through last night. But I thought about today when I was, having those, I really wasn't disgruntled. I was feeling kind of down. It was dragging me down. And I thought, I really feel like I need to preach against defeatism. And I think, but I feel defeated. And I thought, Lord, are you giving me a taste of defeat today so I know how it tastes? So I know how it tastes that I've got to understand and cope with how other people feel because they feel defeated. So now you're letting, because listen, I want to tell you something. I don't like it. And I don't walk around many days feeling defeated because I'm against it. Like I get mad against it. I get angry against it. But the problem is, I'm just human like everybody else. And sometimes I get tired. And I felt a flood of defeat. But I thought, God, are you doing something special around me? Because all things work according to your purpose. And my faith kicked in. And I think so many times like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, by George, if you just kill me, God, I'll still serve you. Throw me in the fire. Whether he delivers me or not, I'll still serve him. And that's how faith changes things. That's how your faith changes things. Our confidence comes from our faith. If you're going to have confidence, it'll have to come from faith. My personal fleshly confidence has let me down a lot. And I've found that fleshly confidence has a tendency to become overconfident. But God's confidence and having faith and being confident that what is set before me, God can get me through, has never let me down. Our confidence comes from our faith resting on God's limitless power, His almighty power, and it's always working things together for our good. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." Whoa, that's really countercultural that we boast in our weaknesses. But it's really important to grasp. It's easy to find your flaws. It's easy to find our weaknesses, right? It's easy to look in the mirror and just say that you're not good enough. It's just as easy to take those things and let those things define our identity. That our weakness and our failures, I think we all probably fight against that. I know I fight against that, not being good enough in certain areas of my life, not being the best. And so I'm a very competitive person, and I'm an all-in person. I've had some people say, well, one thing I can say about you, Tom, you're always here. That's a pretty good thing. It's not what I want to hear, but it's a pretty good thing. I'd like to hear other things. I'd like to hear say, well, you're a pretty good preacher, but I guess I'm not a pretty good preacher. I'd like to hear somebody say, you're a pretty good teacher, but I guess I'm not a pretty good teacher. But I can let that define me. But I am what I am by the grace of God. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right not to hear what you want to hear. Where it's not all right is when you let that define you. When you let that become your identity. Because your self-esteem means something. And you can tear yourself down a lot quicker than anybody will ever be able to build yourself up. It's easy to find our flaws. It's easy to let our weaknesses and our flaws define our identity and live in shame in certain areas in our life or in all areas of our life. It becomes consuming. It can overwhelm us and consume us. And we can wish, those weaknesses away, can't we? We can say, oh, if I was like this, I could do this. If I wasn't like this, I could do this. And here's something that we need to understand. God knows that you're not perfect. God knows it. God knows you're not perfect. He created you. I thought about this. I thought this statement. God, I'm created this way and I've got so many flaws. Is this your fault, God? I thought, God, you're a great big God. And I'm so imperfect. And I understand, if you start thinking about it, if you were the best thing on the earth, the greatest thing, most perfected, who needs God? I mean, we always blame everything on everything else. Did you know God just created you the way you are? And God knows this. God knows that God loves you so much, He likes you to depend on Him. I thought about my children. No matter how old they are, I want them to give me a call and need me for something. I want them to need me for something. I think God really does want you to depend on Him and to have your faith in Him and not yourself. So He made you not perfect. Because if you was perfect, you wouldn't want Him. You wouldn't need Him. And guess what? Why would you ever create anything that wouldn't want you? If I created something, if I could create let's talk about, I didn't really create my kids, but I had a little part in it somehow because God made me have a little part. I want them to want me. I want them to love me. I thought, well, God created us so we'd love Him. So we'd want Him. And He knows that we're not perfect. And He created us in that way. So we get all torn up about our weaknesses and our failures and our discrepancies and things that we're not very strong at, that we're not very good at, and we just want to give up and quit when God said, this is the way I made you. I made you this way. And here's the thing. And you're perfect that way. You're not perfect, but you're perfect. Well, that sounds like something Seth Stone would say. You're not perfect, but you're perfect. Matter of fact, he must have said that sometime because I remember him, that hand motion he has. You're not perfect, but you're perfect. God knows you're not perfect. He created you that way, and He created you that way on purpose. Those weaknesses that you're trying so hard to cover up and that you wish were away are the very ways that God uses His power best in your life. That's what Paul said. He said, I glory in my weakness, for Christ's strength resteth on me. How would your life change if we could live like Paul and be glad in our weaknesses because we know that Christ's power is on us all the much more in those spots, in those areas of our life? Our faith would change that perception of those things that we feel so insufficient in, that these are the things that God's power is resting most on. Hebrews 4:16 said, let us then, since we've got this far, let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're similar to me. I try to fix a lot of things on my own. I try to fix a lot of stuff on my own. I mean, let's see if you do this. If you got a problem, if you got a problem in your business, if you got a problem at your home, first thing I usually do, YouTube. Google. How do I fix this? How do I fix? Let me YouTube it. Let me Google this. Let me get on the internet and see what the fix is. And honestly, that should never be my first reaction to a problem. I mean, it gets out there. Well, I've got me and Melissa get into this fight about this. How do I fix that? Let me see. What do women think when a man says this? You kind of know how bad it got last night now, don't you? Yeah, it should be that shouldn't be my first thing, is to go to the internet or go to the information center. Back in the day, we probably, we calling somebody, asking somebody or something, but now we just internet everything. We Google it or we YouTube it. I'm a bad YouTuber. I'm bad to get on there and see the video. I got to see the video. I need to see the actions. I need to see, okay, you walk this way, you do this, you do all that. But really, that's probably not, that's the worst thing to do. Honestly, we should never have that first reaction to a problem. Our first approach ought to be God. No matter how big or how small, it should be God. And I looked over this and kind of, this part got added to these notes probably about 5 o'clock today in my office at the college. And I've had just a day of emotions. And I've had to fight my flesh because of those emotions. And I've had to try my best to live in the Spirit and walk in the Spirit more than I normally do. I will be honest with you, some days are easy to walk spiritually. But some days are very hard to be spiritually. Even though everything in me wants to be spiritual like every other day. Because I remember yesterday was easy, or the day before that, matter of fact, was easy to walk spiritually. And every day, every time Tuesday till later in the afternoon, it's pretty easy. But today was a lot tougher. But I remember how easy it was the day before, and it even makes it worse when it's harder. And I sat there in my office about 5 o'clock, and this got added to my notes, and I put this in my notes because I felt conviction. Like I said, just a lot of different emotions today. I felt conviction because I remembered myself as a 22-year-old going back to college, thinking, golly, I should have been done with school. You know, traditionally 18 to 22, you're done with college. You know, you go 4 years after high school, so on, blah, blah. And I remember going back, and I'd already been in the ministry for about 4 years. And I remember saying, God, if you're sending me back, I'm going to pray over every test. Every time I need you, I'm going to lift you up. And I remember for 4 straight years, through my 2 years at Northeast, my 2 years at Jacksonville, that before every test, I'd pray. And I'd get right with God, and I'd say, God, I've prepared. I'd open every prayer, because I didn't expect God just to hand me something. But I say, God, I've prepared. Now, God, what I need you to help me to remember what you've put in me. And to be happy, satisfied, and spiritual about the outcome. And if it's not the outcome I'm looking for, you make me a fighter, you make me angry, you make me go that much harder the next time. Because obviously I've underestimated the investment that I need to put in. And I can't tell you, for 4 straight years, every time I'd encounter a test, I would pray. Now I'm talking about a college test. I would pray. And I would prepare. And it would fuel me. And it would fire me. And I'd get multiple sermons from those prayers. God would just, I'd be praying about a math test, because that's what I do. Most of you know, I teach mathematics. I'd be praying about that, and I'd get a sermon. Because I was focused on, Lord, help me. I feel like I've done, but I thought about how far have I got away from that? That when I've got a mountain in my life or a molehill in my life, whether it's big or whether it's small, I go Google it or I go to YouTube and I don't pray about it. I don't even give God the chance or my faith a chance to give me a different perspective, because I go rely on other things. And I'll tell you what I thought. I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one that's went to this direction through the years. Because one thing I know about Christianity, it's up and down. And what I mean is, I'm doing really good sometimes, and then I forget what got me to the mountaintop, and I start going down. I had a gentleman tell me, he said, boy, I wish we'd get their churches, they're going to have to build their church. Church gone, demolished it. I won't get into all that, but anyways, they got to build a new one. They're about ready to start. Said, I'm ready to get it built. We're ready to get back into it. I need to get back into it because I need to start teaching Sunday school. Because I don't study like I need to study when I don't teach Sunday school. I don't get in the Word like I need to when I'm not active doing something. And see, life takes us that way too, right? It's easier to sit back a lot of times and blend in the church house. It's a lot easier to sit back on our Christianity and kind of blend in with the world. And guess what happens? We don't prepare. We don't study. Next thing we do, we find ourselves Googling our problems and YouTubing our problems instead of turning to God. Our first approach should be God. Knowing full well and confidently that He knows exactly how to solve our problem. So when I go to God, I need to be confident when I go to God that He does have the answers. That He wants to show me the answers. That He wants to show me the way because He is the way. And then we get the experience, we get to experience the fullness and the graces and the mercies that's always helped us before. I think probably what hurts me may be the same thing that hurts God, is that I'm not new to this. It's not like I'm not naive to it. He's done it before. He'll do it again. He's helped me before. He'll do it again. Hebrews 10:35 in closing today. So do not throw away your confidence. Oh, I always love that. Don't throw away your confidence. So we finished tonight with saying don't throw away your confidence. It'll be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you've done the will of God, listen, that's another thing. When you've done the will of God, when you persevered and you did the will of God, don't throw your confidence away. You'll receive what He's promised. So many times we start a task and we start it with confidence and it slowly wanes. It slowly just drags on when we don't see immediate results. When we don't see exactly what we want to see real quickly. A lot of people's Christianity is like that. They come in the church house. They get fired up for a week, a month. Sometimes it's a year. But then they don't start seeing the results that they want to see. And slowly they just go back out. They go back out. They go back out. They go back out. And they find themselves in a mess. Don't lose your confidence. Don't lose your confidence that God is the answer, that God is the truth, that God is the way, that faith is the way to change what you see now to be something different. Don't lose your confidence when things don't work out the right way. I think that's probably the hardest. See, it's one thing not to see results, but it's another when things don't work out the way that you wanted them to work out. It's so hard to counsel somebody that's lost a loved one because when they prayed, they didn't pray usually for the loved one to go on to meet the Lord. They prayed for a healing. They prayed for a miracle. And things didn't work out the way they wanted them to work out. But that doesn't mean we lose faith. That doesn't mean we lose heart. That doesn't mean we lose confidence because things don't work out the way. My George, have you lived any life? There's not many things that work out our way. But we keep fighting. Persevere. Keep going. Keep trying. Did you hear me? Keep going. Keep trying. Sometimes I can't get it right, but I keep trying to get it right. I can't get through it, but I keep trying. Keep going. Keep trying. Keep asking. Keep seeking. Keep knocking. Keep on. Keep on. Sometimes you just got to take the hits and you got to keep going. Sometimes that's all you can do. I've always admired people that could take a hit. I've always admired watching boxers just get pounded and just keep going. And if truth be told, anybody that's ever watched a Rocky movie probably admires because he gets the ever-loving life beat out of him in every movie. He takes a beating, but he just keeps coming. And he keeps trying. And he keeps persevering. And that may not be just a figment or a non-reality because it's some kind of entertainment. But there is a lot of life in that. The only way you're going to lose this thing is if you give up and quit. And God didn't build you to quit. He built you to be a fighter. God bless you. I thank you. Appreciate you for your attention and your attendance, Pastor Cates.